This conference will now be recorded.
So we are going to talk about with sharing and without sharing. So any idea like what is with sharing and what is without sharing? Anyone?
So basically, in with sharing, when we have a class with sharing keyword, so
Okay.
all the sharing settings and all the sharing rules that apply to the user are come into practice. That only those records would be retrieved which the user has access to. And without sharing, this like all the records, irrespective of the user who is logged in and who is running that, we get all the records.
Okay. So basically there are two modes where we run the classes. And if we talk about with sharing and without sharing, with sharing means all the sharing rule and sharing settings enforced for that particular class. And in case of without sharing, sharing rule and sharing settings remains as is. They won't enforce a particular user. With sharing enforce sharing rules that apply to the current user. Without sharing doesn't enforce the sharing rules. That means if a class is not declared as either with or without sharing, the current sharing rule remains in effect. If a class is declared with sharing, for that purpose or for that user, all the sharing rules will enforce. Let's understand the example of class. Okay, so let's suppose there are two classes, class A and class B. Class A is with sharing and class B is without sharing. Inside class A, we have a function, let's say uh, public static void show, and in the class B we have another function, public static void display. Let's suppose if we are going to call B's method, which is display inside class A, will that be running in the running with sharing or without sharing?
Can you repeat the question, Naresh?
Okay, just a minute. There is class with sharing A. This is without sharing. So we have this structure. We have class A with sharing A and without sharing B. Where with class A we are using with sharing keyword, and with class B we are using without. Then now let's suppose if we are going to call this function which is inside class B. If we call this function inside class A with sharing A, so what will happen? That was my question.
So as we have mentioned, without sharing in B, so it will be like as we are calling the B function, so it will be without sharing only the results.
Sorry, Sumit, I didn't get
Uh,
it.
am I am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
So I was saying as class B is marked with without sharing, and we are calling the function of B class. So it is marked with without sharing. So all the results, without sharing rules would be displayed for the function which is called in class A for class B.
Okay, just a minute, please. Let me make it more simple. Question is, this is my question. I'm running this method here. So will it run in with sharing mode or without sharing mode? This is my question.
Without sharing.
Okay. What about others? What other says?
Sir, without saying,
So all are saying like without sharing. Is it?
yes, sir.
Okay. Nikita,
Without sharing.
why without sharing? I mean, why? Any reason?
Sir, we calling the function of without sharing class, right?
Okay.
So that's what it is.
Okay. I I agree. Like this function is in this class, which is without sharing. But where we are calling, but this class is
Okay.
with sharing, and whatever code will be inside this will whatever code we will be going to execute as part of this class, that should be with sharing or without sharing. guys. And if I call this, then what will be the, will it run in the in with sharing or without sharing?
With sharing.
Okay. Okay. It's a homework for you guys. Identify what will be the mode for this for this scenario. Which one
Okay,
will
sir.
run the user mode or with sharing or without sharing? So user mode and system mode. What are the modes? Why we call the user mode and system mode? System mode. What is this user and system mode?
So when the sharing rules are enforced, then it is the user mode, and system mode is without sharing. Like no, like by default, the Apex runs in a system mode, so which is like without sharing.
Okay. So all the classes where we are not declaring with sharing, those runs in the system mode. And
Correct.
when we declare with sharing keyword, those runs in the user mode for a particular context. Okay, so what do you mean by user mode, Nikita? And how a class can run in a user mode?
User mode, sir, with respect to a user, uh, whosoever is running the system or uh, system mode is like with respect to the system.
Like for example,
Mhm.
yes, Manjeet.
The system mode, there is no like any security, field level security type of things.
Okay, I mean how a class can run in system mode and the user mode. That's the question.
In with sharing class, it's in system mode.
With sharing is in system mode, is it?
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
I thought so with sharing is it in user mode, sir? Because sharing all the users access.
Okay. Aditya, any other one?
So I think so like user mode will be the current mode, so the current user who is using. So if you are using a sharing mode, so if he's having the sharing control like the permissions, then he can use the class like the sharing class with sharing class.
Okay. So basically, there are two modes: system mode and user mode. Okay. When we do not define any keyword with the class, that will run in the system mode. If we define the with sharing keyword, in that case, that class will run in the user mode. So what I actually mean with user mode with respect to the current logged user. For example, as of now, I'm logged in with the Ravi Kumar. So if so, whatever the sharing rule and sharing settings we have defined, all the sharing settings will enforce for this user. And if we have defined any class with sharing keyword and we are making any query or we are performing any DML, all the sharing rule and sharing settings will enforce. For example, let's say the account object is private. Okay, we have two users, let's say Ravi and Sumit. So if account is private from the OWD, Ravi won't be able to access Sumit's record because OWD is private for the account. Same thing if Ravi has created any record in the system, Sumit won't be able to access. Okay. Now, if I'm running my class without sharing keyword, that means system mode, and I'm making the query, I'm displaying the record on the VF page. In that case, Ravi will be able to access all the records of Sumit also, and vice versa. Sumit will be able to access Ravi's record because there is no sharing rule, sharing settings enforced. Let's suppose if I'm running that class in the with sharing mode, in that case, Ravi will be able to access only his record because all the sharing rules, sharing settings, or OWD will enforce in that case. But OWD is private for the account, so Ravi won't be able to access other users' record. Now let's suppose if I have created any sharing rule where I'm sharing Sumit's record to any queue or any particular user. In that case, that user will be able to access those. Got it? Any confusion or should I repeat again?
Got it, sir.
So please repeat again. So
Okay. Let's say OWD for account is private. Okay. I believe you all must have read about OWD and sharing rules. Now there is some records which is owning by Ravi and same thing. Let's say here 5 records owned by Ravi and 10 records owned by Smith. Okay, if I'm looking these records without code, for example, like this, if I come here and account is private from OWD, there is no sharing rule, sharing settings we have defined. will Ravi or will I will be able to access the Sumit's record
No,
here,
sir.
and will
He
Sumit
can.
can access Ravi's record?
No, Ravi can access his own records, sir, and Sumit can access only his own records.
Correct. If I'm using the code means VF page and Apex, and I'm querying on, I'm making a query on the account and displaying the records on the VF page. If my Apex class is not running with sharing keyword, that means if my class is running in the system mode, that will be going to return all the records. What that mean? If Ravi is accessing those records using the code, the VF page, then he will be able to access his record as well as Sumit's record also. Okay, because our class is running in the system mode. In that case, there is no sharing rule and sharing settings and force. But if I run that class with sharing keyword, in that case, I will be able to access only my records, not other ones. And if I define any sharing rules where I'm authorized to access Sumit's records also. For example, we have created one sharing rule on the honor based criteria where we are sharing Sumit's record to the Ravi, to any user. In that case, I will be able to access Sumit's record when my class is running in the system mode, in the user mode. Now got it or signed out, guys?
Got it.
Sumit, Shekhar, Aditya, Neeraj.
Yes.
Got it, sir.
Any confusion in this?
No, sir.
Okay, so this is the assignment which you need to do practically. Whatever I have explained the conceptual concept, you need to do practical for that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let's play with the wrapper. Another important thing, because these things we have already done. Save, standard controller, custom controller. Now let's understand where to use wrapper and what is the need of wrapper. Any idea? Anyone?
When we need to get data of like more than one data type, at that point of time we use wrappers.
Okay, and what do you mean by more than one data type?
For example, if I want, if I want to get, I'll just quote an example. If I want to get an account and all its related contacts, so I can get in the wrapper. If I want to, that is one example. Another example is if I want to get all the accounts and I want to uh, get the check boxes also and their status, like somebody is selected that, like default account for that matter. So that also we can
Correct.
deal with wrapper.
So wrapper I'll say is equals to, or wrapper is just like objects. And how we can say just like objects? See, basically in the objects, what we do, we store different type of data, different type of fields we can create. For example, we can create a number field, we can create email field, we can create text field. What that means, on the same object, we are able to store different type of data. Correct. So In same way, when we play with Apex and when we want to deal with the numerous type of data, for example, account, contact, opportunity, lead, at the same time, no mean whether those are related or not. For example, account and contact both are related, but account and lead are not related. So we can deal with the different type of data using the wrapper class. We can store different type of objects, different type of fields in the wrapper class. Another scenario is when we need to display the checkboxes along with the records. Let's understand this scenario. Here you can see checkboxes along with the data. So checkboxes means that is the boolean type, and another records which you are able to see, that is the account type. So we need to create the wrapper class to deal with both the types. How we can create? Let me show you quickly. That's the VF page. Try stay focused because you need it requires a bit attention. So as I said, wrapper means we can store different type of data. So let's create the wrapper class. Public class account wrapper. So here we will be going to define the types. Let's say public. I'm declaring the variable account obj account. So with this variable, I will be able to display all the account records. But I also need to display the checkboxes. So I need to create one more field is selected. Instantiating this. Any doubt here? Anyone? Any question in this? So why we have created the wrapper class? To play with different type of data. Different type of data means here we are going to store the account type and a boolean type of data. Now let's create the main variable list of wrapper we are creating. Let's go to the constructor. Okay, so here we go. Yes, Aditya.
So
What I need to do, I need to create constructor of this class. How I can create?
public in the class name, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so inside this constructor, what I need to do, I need to fill out this wrapper. Before that, let me initialize this, instantiate this wrapper list. Sorry. Now what I'll do, I'll be going to make a query. Okay, so I'm making a query in the single line. This is the way, or this is the another way to make the queries. Now here I need to fill this wrapper. In this wrapper, list wrapper, and type of this wrapper is account wrapper. I mean type of this list is account wrapper. So I need to create instance of this wrapper first. Account wrapper. Now because I have created instance of this wrapper class, so I can access these variables with the help of this instance variable. Dot I can access obj account. So what is the type of this variable? Anyone?
It's as objects account type.
Account. So I can directly initialize this account variable here because type of this variable is also same account,
Yes, sir.
right? And is selected equals to, so I'll be going to assign false. Now what I'm doing, I'm iterating over this list collection, list of accounts, and I'm putting these accounts inside this wrapper because I have defined the same variable, same type of variable inside this wrapper. Now let's add this instance here. My wrapper is ready. Let's go to the VF page. Oops. the controller. Simplest variable of account, and where you can take any variable, let's say ACC. Okay, so now create the columns. Let's display the first field by one by one. So my question is, will I be able to access this like accounts like this account name? Guys, Nikita, will I be able to access account name like this?
VCC. No, sir. You have to write. Can you please show the class once? VCC.
Okay.
Where is CC? You have to like first with the class name, then dot variable dot class name dot name. In this way, you can access.
Okay. So what will be the actual syntax? Okay. So basically here, this is the list of wrapper, correct? I mean, and in this inside this wrapper or list of wrapper, the where we are getting instance of one wrapper. What that mean? Instance of this. Now we need to get these because we need to get the name, fee, name, phone, email. So first we need to get this field. Like this. This is a list of wrapper. For example, list of account as we have. So what we do? We use where variable. For example, this one. This is the list of contacts. Here in this con, we are representing a single instance, single contact, and from that we are iterating name, email, phone. In the same way, the list of wrapper. Here we are getting instance of single wrapper, and from the instance of single wrapper means the account wrapper. This wrapper. We need to get this one and this one. When we get this one means we get the account. So directly dot by dot we can get the name also. For example, this one. This is the instance of single wrapper. We are getting this variable which is inside this wrapper, and this is the account type variable. So we can get the account fields. It makes sense now. Guys, does it make sense? Still confused? Guys,
Yes, sir.
yes sir, what yes sir? Are you able to understand or not?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to understand how I'm getting these? How I'm getting account, phone industry? Neeraj, are you able to understand?
Yes, sir, got it.
Okay, if you got it, now tell me how I can get the checkbox is selected. What I need to get the is selected value variable.
Sir, please go through the checkbox. Did you mention any checkbox field in that wrapper class?
Yes, this one boolean.
Is separate. Boolean.
Mm-hmm. Yes. How I can get this is selected here. Guys, how I can get this? What I need to write to access that checkbox?
So you can write object wrap dot is selected
Correct.
dot uh, this dot is selected.
Okay. You got here. You have the checkboxes. Neeraj, are you in the call? Okay. So any question, anyone here till the time how we are displaying?
No, sir.
No.
Sure. No question. Okay. Now write down the assignments. We need
Alright.
to design. We need to design a similar functionality as you can see here. There will be added delete button. There will be a list of accounts. If we click on any account, it will be going to open in the detail view.
Okay, sir.
If I select, it should be select. If I delete anyone, it should delete. If I edit this, it should be open in the editable mode. Okay. There will
Okay.
be pages and there will be sorting also. Well, this is the assignment which you need to do. Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So let's connect tomorrow. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.